Disclaimer: this content can be unsuitable for you, and if it is, you can leave right now and don't spread any kind of hate here. There is no hate toward any idol in this FF. For your reminder, it is just an FF and don't take it seriously, and kindly do not copy my work or repost my content. Only the storylines and editing are owned by me, and the pictures are not owned by me. It was none other than Dr. Clary. Wan's toes curled up in nervousness as Taehyung raised one of his eyebrows, noticing the nervousness etched on his little wife's face as he gently caressed her hand. As Dr. Clary walked further in, speaking, "I didn't expect you to be here. What happened?" Wan's voice was stuck in her throat as she quietly stared at Dr. Clary, who stopped right beside her bed as she frowned, noticing Wan wasn't saying anything. Her eyes fell on Taehyung as chills ran down her spine. She gulped, sweat bits forming on her forehead. Silence consumed. The room, his cold voice cutting through the silence. "You have come to check up on her?" Dr. Clary trembled as she gulped, speaking, "I happened to pass by and saw her." "Ma'am, is this your husband?" Wine nodded slowly as Dr. Clary's eyes widened as she spoke. "Should I tell him?" Taehyung's dark eyes flickered. "Tell him what?" His eyes stuck on his wife's face as he witnessed her doe eyes widening and her breath quickening. It didn't take much longer for him to figure out something's wrong. As she shook her head as a no, he spoke coldly, "Tell me what?" Both Wine and Dr. Clary flinched hearing him as tension started building in the atmosphere, his cold voice striking again. "I don't like to repeat things," yet his grip on her hand was gentle as he caressed it softly. Wine spoke immediately as she stuttered, "I came for a medical checkup, remember?" He raised one of his eyebrows, looking at her, making her heartbeat quicken as he hummed slowly as she released a sigh of relief unknowingly. Making him know again that something suspicious. Damn, this little wife of his was surely nervous hell, unknowingly dropping clues for him to recognize something suspicious. This made him smirk a bit as he sighed. He glanced at Dr. Clary. She was literally trembling. He casually pulled out his gun, placing it on the table beside the bed as Dr. Clary's eyes widened, her breath quickened as she trembled. Meanwhile, Wine was staring at the ceiling, her two eyes moving around, but her eyes widened slightly, hearing the voice of metal. She immediately her head to where the gun was placed, and the immediate movement somehow struck her nerves as she winced in pain, closing her eyes, making him rub his forehead at her clumsiness. He sighed for the 100th time now, only because of her. "How come you are so clumsy?" he muttered as he slowly held her neck, placing it properly as she kept wincing and wiggling in pain. As Dr. Clary moved closer, settling the nerves as he sat there observing. Once she was relaxed, she made a face before relaxing her neck and body, making him chuckle looking at her actions as his hand trembled to her cheek, caressing it softly as he spoke to her as Dr. Clary backed off. "Are you okay now?" Wine nodded, staring at him as he spoke softly. "Tell me what has happened." Again nervousness crept on her face as he slowly and gently continued to caress her cheek, making her face and her body relax under his touch. Tell me, you trust me, don't you?" He spoke softly as she nodded, speaking in a low voice. "Promise me you'll not get angry." Taehyung frowned slightly, taking note that it was something serious. "It depends. Tell me." He spoke softly and kept convincing her. Once she was convinced, she looked at Dr. Clary silently, telling her to speak as she began speaking. "Sir, actually ma'am came here for a checkup some days ago." "What kind of checkup?" His cold voice stopped Dr. Clary on her words as she gulped. Wine took a deep breath. She was scared to death. His gaze stuck on her face as she trembled slightly. Dr. Clary spoke, making him froze. "A fertility checkup." "A fertility checkup? Seriously?" He muttered in disbelief as Dr. Clary nodded, speaking further. "Yes, sir, a fertility checkup. I think she didn't tell you." Ryan was looking everywhere but not at him, making him clench his jaw. "And the results are positive. She can conceive." But this wasn't the thing he cared about. He muttered, clenching his jaw. "You dare to take a fertility test without informing me?" Wine flinched, hearing him as she gulped, looking at the ceiling. "Look at me," he muttered, but she was too scared to look at him as he spoke. "Didn't you know how painful the process is?" She slowly nodded as Dr. Clary bowed, immediately walking out. He gripped her jaw gently, making her look at him. Her lips were quivering slightly as she trembled. He muttered angrily, "Why did you take the fertility test? Who told you?" "I?" Hwan shook her head slowly, his other hand not caressing her hand anymore. He stood up, leaving her jaw, making her want to cry as someone knocked on the door. He muttered, "Come in." As the door opened, a guard walked in with some packets. He placed it on the table as he bowed and left. He slowly opened up the packets. It was meal he had ordered for her. She quietly stared at his veiny hands unpacking the food for her as he moved his gaze to her before he moved closer, holding her shoulders gently and making her sit. He was quiet all the time. It was as if he was controlling his anger. He sat on the chair beside the bed. Picking up the chopsticks, he stirred the food while she quietly stared at him as he brought a bite before her lips, and she immediately opened her mouth, making him sigh in disbelief. Whom did he marry? A little hungry baby, because one moment she cries, other moment she's hungry. He continued feeding her as her cheeks were stuffed and she was chewing, making him almost smile at the view. How come he never noticed this adorable view when every time they ate together at home? He slowly wiped the excess sauce beside her lips. But it wasn't like he's not angry at her. She dared to get a fertility test without telling him about it, and he's surely going to punish her. He knew how painful the process was. He was soon done feeding her as he packed up the waste before he stood up, making her frown as she spoke hesitantly. "Are you going somewhere?" Before he could answer, his phone rang as he picked it up, walking out of the emergency room as her eyes saddened as her gaze fell upon the gun on the table he had left. She was still sitting. She stretched her hand out for the gun as she grabbed it, getting back in a comfortable sitting position as she muttered to herself, it's heavy." She flipped the gun, examining it. She was holding it with both her hands, carefully learning about it. Well, she didn't learn anything. She was just gazing it with a terrified look. Damn, this is what her husband carries with him daily. She has seen it in movies and somehow knows how to point it. She doesn't know how to hold properly though. She lifted it, holding it poorly, pointing at one of the vase kept in the emergency room. Her finger placed on the trigger. She was astonished as she put the gun down on her lap as a cold voice struck her. What are you doing? She flinched, hearing his cold voice. As she looked up to see him walking to her, she immediately put the gun on the table as she gulped. He reached the table beside her bed, picking up the gun, putting it on his waistband. As he glanced down at her, she was sitting quietly. "You're getting discharged in an hour now," the doctor said. She nodded slowly, hearing him, but somehow he sounded cold. Unlike before, as he sat on the stool beside the bed, scrolling through his phone, she wanted to lay down as she wiggled in her place, trying to lay down. Her struggles didn't go unnoticed by him as he gently held her shoulders. So suddenly, as he helped her lay down, he was staring right into her soul as she avoided his gaze. Their faces were close. Her hands were gripping on his shirt as he gently settled her on the bed. But as he was about to move away, he was held back because of her grip on his shirt. His face was so close to her because it was as if he was shoved back to her. He gazed into her eyes as crimson red color adorned her cheeks. His hands gently traveled to hers as he gently held them and placed them on her belly as he sat back on his stool, scrolling through his phone. He knew he had to punish her for what she has done, and he will punish her. After some moments, there were doctors in the room examining her and getting her ready for the discharge as he witnessed it quietly. Once she was done with the checkup, the wires were detached from her body as he helped her sit. He had bought clothes for her to change at the hospital because the doctors had told him earlier. The nurse walked in with the clothes as she spoke. "Ma'am, you have to change. Come with me." He glanced at her while the doctors were talking to him about her condition. He was standing a bit far away from the bed as the doctor had called him over there. One placed her feet on the floor as she tried standing up, but she didn't have any energy to do so, yet she still stood up only to fall back on the bed with a thud, making her wince in pain. And the other moment, before she could process, she was in the air. "Where's the changing room?" he coldly asked the nurse as she addressed him. He made her sit on the couch there as the nurse handed him her clothes as she walked out of the changing room. There she was sitting all shy and nervous, her gaze stuck at the floor as silence consumed the room. Only the sound of their breaths being heard. He placed her clothes couch beside her. She glanced at it. The clothes looked so comfy, but she frowned, noticing her undergarments missing. She frowned slightly, which he noticed. He knew what she was thinking. She somehow gathered up the courage to speak and asked him, "My undergarments." He spoke coldly, cutting her off. "Dress up comfortable here. Later at home you can change." She slowly nodded. She loved the way he knew the undergarments would. Make her feel uncomfortable now because she was injured, tired and burned out. He held her hands gently, making her stand. He turned her as her back was facing him now. His veiny, rough hands pushed her hair to the front on the right shoulder as he untied the knots. Once he was done, he cleared his throat, letting his little wife know he had untied the knots. Her doe eyes widening slightly, not knowing what to do now. He slowly held on her dress, getting her out of it, her back still facing him. He wasn't looking at her body once he caught her. Out of the hospital clothes, he picked up her comfy shirt as he helped her wear it carefully. After that, she was buttoning up the 2-3 buttons present on the collar side. He stared at her face through the mirror. She was blushing. Her movements were slow. She let him do it was enough for him to know. That his wife trusted him more than anything as he helped her wear the pants. He felt like he was dressing up a child. He clears his throat once again after he was done. His hands were on her waist all the time, supporting her to stand, and when his hands weren't on her waist, she would grip his shirt for support. How cute. Once he was done dressing her up, he picked her up, walking out with his little wifey in his arms while she gripped onto his shirt tightly, her long hair hanging in the air. A month had passed. By now, Wine is completely alright. She has healed, and all thanks to him. He took great care of her. But he also behaved cold, punishing her for the fertility test. He cared for her more than she could ever imagine, and right now, she was tidying up the almirah and the clothes as someone knocked on the door. She muttered softly, "Come in." It was a maid. "Ma'am, sir has called you to his study." Wine frowned but nodded. She was completely healed, but she had a big pain in her knees which made her limp slightly. She nodded before walking out of the room, limping slowly as the maid left. She knocked on the door as he spoke coldly, "Come in." She slowly opened the door, walking to him. slowly as she limped, his gaze fixed on the screen before him. As she reached him, she spoke softly, peeping into the screen. "You called me?" He hummed, the Bluetooth device still and one of his air as he spoke coldly. "I have to discuss something," Ryan hummed as he finally gazed up at her. Her breath hissed, looking at his mesmerizing face, and his heartbeat quickened. Looking at his little wife, her soft features always drove him crazy. He pulled out a paper from the drawer. It was a set. Her breath hissed as her vision became blurry. Hearing his next words, he kept a cold face, but his heart was tearing apart. Looking at his wife, he ignored the lump that was forming in his throat as her hands trembled, making him more guilty. "You can divorce me." Thank you so much for reading till the end. Your love and support means everything to me. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment and tap a like. It keeps me motivated to bring you more. Can't wait to share the next journey with you all. Until then, stay safe and keep believing in love.